Today, I'll be sharing with you my top 3 early stage crypto launchpad projects, allowing investors to get in these projects before they hit the public markets. Really early stage opportunities in this video. Now, this is a continuation in my crypto launchpad ecosystem map series that I started here when I was in Batumi, Georgia, on the Black Sea. Now I'm back in the US for a little bit, and then heading to South America. But in this series, basically, while traveling, I covered almost every single launchpad out there, and now there's a bunch of these new ones. I do want to focus on kind of this new trend in this video, since I've been talking a bit more about kind of metaverse based things in the past week with the crypto market, because I do see this as a category that is a bit recession proof in the vacuum of the crypto market, right? So if we're looking at crypto bull and bear markets, what is the recession proof categories that I always like to talk about? You know, don't just look at the crypto market as, oh, they're all currencies. No, there's so many interesting different little categories there in crypto gaming and metaverse based plays, in my opinion, are very recession proof. So even if there's a bear market, there's still opportunity. And that's what I'll be talking about in this video. Now, always make sure to do your own research on any projects that I talk about, purely for educational purposes, not sponsored by any of these. This is just information. I'm just kind of doing a bit of a brain dump on the things that I've been watching. The first one being Starlaunch. Now, very bullish on the Solana ecosystem. I've talked a lot about them in the past. I was talking about them before they had their intense run up. And a way you want to kind of frame this is typically in the crypto market, we see kind of 2 massive volatile moves. That's when something gets launched kind of on the public market, called an IDO now, so initial DEX offering. And then once it gets actually listed on a centralized exchange like Coinbase, like Gemini, like Binance, right? So in this first one, this is where kind of early stage investors, so people that can get into these launchpads and get into these projects, have kind of this early stage access. Then they hit the public market. Then the reason I said it's a massive volatile move is because I'm not saying it's necessarily towards the upside or towards the downside. We just see a giant spike there. The good thing is, where there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of opportunity, high risk, high reward plays. And then when we go on in, like, let's say you pulled some profits when something got listed on the IDO, and then you hold the rest of that project until it gets listed on a centralized exchange, something can happen with Anchor, which I was holding for a long time. Then they got listed on Coinbase, which I was not expecting at all. And I remember I had it in, I think, my I had it in my old Coinbase wallet. So there's a Coinbase exchange, and there's the Coinbase mobile wallet, and I have a ridiculous amount of crypto wallets. But that one I had checked when I was in Istanbul, and it went ballistic. I didn't even realize that they launched on Coinbase. But this is that parabolic move that we typically see kind of in those 2 stages. So remember, after kind of that initial DEX offering is what we kind of call it now, and it gets listed on the public market, where maybe it's tradable on Uniswap, maybe it's tradable on PancakeSwap, SushiSwap. And then once it actually is being listed on a centralized exchange, where kind of the masses can really get into it, the people that aren't as crypto savvy with the decentralized exchanges and kind of Web3, they can gain exposure to these projects. That's where we see the major run up. So as I was saying here with Solana, I was talking about Solana when it was, I think, under $5. It was really cheap. And this is one that is a launchpad native to the Solana ecosystem. Now, I'm bullish here mainly because of the low fees on Solana. I mean, it's ridiculous what's going on with Ethereum, ETH. There's all these kind of big things where they hyped it up and they said, oh, fees are going to be a lot lower. But it's hard to onboard new users. It's hard to get new people to kind of use this space if those fees are so high. That's why I really like Solana. I like what Polkadot's doing. I like what Cardano's doing. I like kind of the alternative layer 1 solutions versus Ethereum. Now, I still hold Ethereum long term, but that's just kind of my view on things if I'm looking at kind of onboarding new people and mass adoption. Starlaunch is the first insured IDO launchpad for the Solana ecosystem. They have a couple different things here. So kind of the 3 main pillars here is the propulsion program. So that's advisory support and approved for projects. So kind of like an incubator. Then they have the insurance fund. So insurance that protects their community. That's kind of one of their main kind of points that they focus on, is having this not only be the first launchpad on Solana, but the actual first insured launchpad on Solana. Because there is other ones that we talked about that were already built on Solana in this crypto launchpad ecosystem map series. I talked a lot about all the different launchpads on Solana, but this one's very new. Crypto Banter, they really hyped it up. I think they might have partnered with them, but the reason I like it is because typically when we see something like that happen, it has that massive hype, but now it's on this massive pullback, and that's where it's more interesting, right? So when everybody's hyped up about it and it's being talked on all the biggest shows, that's when you see those valuations. Now it's pulled way back down. Not saying pump and dump or anything like that. I'm just saying I kind of do like what they're building long term. It's actually the founders of Card Starter. That's what it is. The Cardano Launchpad that I really liked. They have their kind of full deck here where they talk about all these different things. If you want to see a detailed review of any of these launchpads that I talk about in this video, let me know in the comments down below. I just think it's so important to zoom out for a second and go, okay, what's going on with the crypto decentralized capital raising versus the traditional market? And that really, I think this article really shows it well. As Kickstarter traditionally, which has been kind of this crowdfunding platform, they're now going to the blockchain world, right? So they kind of have been this IDO or ICO launchpad in the traditional world for kind of for crowdfunding at the end of the day. That's what they call it there. But in this, where you're able to raise capital in a completely decentralized way, it's much more interesting, much more opportunity, and a lot more money to be made with IDOs in kind of the launchpad space. So I think this is, just as far as like a narrative trend, this is very interesting that they're moving over there. But to continue on here, like I was saying, they basically, sorry about that, they basically show kind of all of their tokenomics here. They talk about why they chose Solana. They talk about, how do you actually participate in these IDOs. So the basic format for this, I talk about these in the other videos in the Launchpad Ecosystem Map series, is it's different per each launchpads. People always reach out and they're like, oh, how do I get in the US? Well, to be honest with you, most of these have KYC. So if the US is your only citizenship, if that's the only passport that you hold, that is going to be an issue. That's why I always talk about second passports and residencies on this channel. So if you're interested in being able to access these things, but you're born in the US and you made a decent amount of money, maybe you're a business owner, we do offer that as kind of a consulting service. That's kind of my main business. The channel is kind of for fun, what I do here on YouTube. But mainly I'm working with people kind of on international real estate, emerging market countries, and kind of just investing internationally in general. But beyond that, we have those contact links down below in the description if you'd like to reach out there. But that's just the truth of it. I mean, there are launchpads out there where they don't require KYC, but it's kind of becoming a norm in the space. I recently had an interview with Harity Network that are kind of building more things in this decentralized capital raising space. And you can go check that out. It was on the channel just a little bit ago. It's like interview with Harity Network CEO, and I talked with them about basically their whole idea around this is they actually want to create individual legal entities behind each project that's being launched on Harity Network, which I think is interesting. But there's also other mediums. It's all just a big experiment at the end of the day of who's going to win out. And I think Stars is doing something interesting here because it's not just the Stars token. They actually have the secondary token. They basically break down how that works here. I'm not going to bore you guys with this too much. I just wanted to do a basic overview and then move on to the next one. So beyond this, we have something called GameFi, and they launch IGO, so initial game offering. So just like IDOs, these are kind of like think about them almost as like little economies that are being pushed out. Like if there was a machine for pumping out new country economies, right? It's kind of interesting, and it just fits in with what I was just saying. It's all just a big experiment. And at the end of the day, if you can really identify trends here, and you can identify, okay, why are some of these doing so well? Because I can tell you, I mean, they've done, them and my last launchpad that I'm going to talk about here, I mean, they've done some insane returns. GameFi has done some better than this, but when we're looking at platform total raises and the all-time high of these, so if you're able to get in before this IGO, some of these have been insane. This is obviously for Starpunk, the next one I'll talk about, but for GameFi, I mean, if we look at some of the ones that they've done, like D-Race, they did incredibly well with a lot of these in IGOs, and I think this as a concept is very interesting to launch not just new coins, not just new projects, but actually things that are kind of little economies, like I was saying, that will be running through the bear market, through the bull market. It really doesn't matter. And that's why I kind of talk about this as being relatively recession-proof, or as recession-proof as you can get as the idea. Obviously, this is all a concept. This is a very new market. You have to do your own research. You have to make sure you're staying up to date. I just find it all very interesting. I like to gain exposure to these things that are much more speculative with profits I've already pulled from other things. So I'm completely de-risked for the most part in the crypto market, because after you've been in the space a little bit, you can pull enough profits where you can kind of just play around. And that's why that's the way that I'm seeing the metaverse. That's why I'm seeing GameFi and all these things going on here. That's how I look at it, at least. And then we can see the tokenomics here. So the token allocation, it was 2% for the seed round, 12% for private, public 2%, team is at 16%, advisor partner 5%, marketing is 20%. You can basically see all that there. So that's part of doing your own research. And then just an example of an IGO. So if you're looking at the details here, like I said, it's different for each one. So when people reach out and they're like, hey, how do I access this one? I'm like, hey, either you got to do your own research, you got to figure it out yourself, or I mean, I don't have time to work people for free one-on-one and all these things. You have to do the research yourself. You have to reach out to the team, do your due diligence. because most of the time these change every time, so it's hard to give blanket advice there, but it's very easy to find. That's why I always link these things while I'm making the video. You can see here, like, this one, for example, is different than the other one. So the pool details is the token ticker is SIDUS, so SIDUS. It's an ERC20, so Ethereum network. Price per token is 0.0018. Vesting schedule is you unlock 10% at TGE, then unlock 10% monthly over 9 months. That prevents from a big pump and dump. And then you can basically see this. So how do you actually join this IGO? So you go to this, so hub.gamefi.org, connect the wallet. You have to stake the GameFi tokens, and you should have to be at a minimum. There's like a minimum for a certain rank. Yeah, so you have to be at least a rookie rank for this, and it's different for each pool, right? So it's different if we're talking about another project, but for this example, that's kind of the rules there. And that's just, one. I mean, this token has run up. I would be looking for a bit more of a pullback here. Relatively low market cap. I would call this like a mid-cap project at $150 million, but if you kind of understand what I'm saying overall in this video, the overall trend of kind of launching these many economies, and you see the upside here, that's where identifying some of these plays at early stages can be very, very beneficial. And lastly here, obviously follow them on Twitter, so at GameFi_official. Follow all these on Twitter just to stay up to date with what's going on. You can also follow us at InvestGlobal_IO. But lastly here with Starpunk, I kind of just mentioned that at the beginning of the other one because it had similar type of returns for some of these, which are ridiculous. But basically you can see like how this works. So it's the Decentralized Incubators. They basically say that game developers get a chance to present their newly developed game to the entire Starpunk community through a Kickstarter style approach where games get funded before they launch. So you can see like if you're actually developing a game, you can get incubated there. You can also buy SRP. And you can see everything here. So this is an example of like 12 Legions. This is something where you could participate if you wanted to. You have to obviously have some of the initial, you have to have some of these tiers. So if you're looking at this from the perspective of, okay, what do I need to participate in this and get this early stage access? So the tier FCS is looking like a 2,000 SRP minimum, which is putting you just below right around $1,500. Not terrible. But if you're looking at this and you're going, okay, I want to gain access, either you can actually participate in the IDOs or just hold a little bit of the token. Because if you're bullish on the upside of the project, now I'm not saying you should, obviously can't repeat it enough. You always have to do your own research. This is not financial advice, but if you're looking at this, two different ways to invest in it. One would be actually participating in these, but then you're kind of trading out these tokens, the SRP tokens, or if you believe in SRP long-term, if you believe in what they're doing, you can just hold the tokens and not really worry about them for a while, right? So two different ways about investing in this, kind of using them for utility versus just holding them and looking at that upside potential. You can do a balance of the two, but that's basically all. Also follow them on Twitter. If you guys have any questions, any comments, let me know down below in the comment section, or you can join the Telegram group. Follow us on Twitter at InvestGlobal_IO. The website is InvestGlobal.io. That's all for this one. Invest Global. If you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, stay up to date, hit the notification bell, and click all. Invest Global. And until next time.